Thank you for staying tuned to Namibia Connects. Now, the United Nations Development Programme, with support from the delegation of the European Union, is inviting CSOs, NGOs, and community-based organizations to submit small grant proposals under the Good Governance and Anti-Corruption in Namibia project. To talk to us more on this particular initiative, we are joined in studio by Dr. Shingiro. He is the Deputy Representative for UNDP Namibia. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Just briefly talk to us firstly about, what this Good Governance and Anti-Corruption project is in particular, why the focus is on Namibia and why this launch.
Thank you so much. So this project is a joint initiative implemented by the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, funded by the European Union as a partner, working closely with government. And the aim really is how do we strengthen accountability, integrity, transparency in Namibia. And I think the premise is that if we're thinking sustainable development, inclusive growth, governance is really the strongest foundation a country can put in place. And I think we are very happy that the project was launched just last year, and the idea of making sure that we have the right interventions is key to all of us. And again, it's a first for us, so we are very excited and we look forward.
Like you highlighted that good governance is one of the strongest foundations for a country in terms of sustainability and so forth. Just what do you make of the current, structure or landscape of good governance in the country and curbing corruption and so forth?
Yes, I think Namibia is considered as a very stable country that has the systems, institutions in place. We work very closely with ACC, for instance. The legal framework is in place. I think what needs to happen is how do we make sure that the anti-corruption drive is not only a top-down exercise, but how do we make sure that everyone understands that he or she has a mission in making sure that we fight corruption. And this is why I think the idea of small grants came also about, is we have to make sure that local actors are also part of this change, and we hope that the change will impact people at community level, at national level, etc.
Absolutely, but why the focus on NGOs and CSOs to partake in this initiative, and perhaps talk to us about how this launch or initiative was received by potential beneficiaries?
I think it's a very good question, and I think, again, the way anti-corruption measures have been, I think, in many countries done or implemented is that we all believe that, you have to put in place the systems, you have to get governments to drive it, etc. But the ones who are actually confronted with some of the shortcomings or the constraints are actually, again, I like to use the word local actors, those who actually see it every day, who can say, I want to do something about it. I don't have resources, I don't have expertise. And I think the rationale is also, if you want to combat corruption, you have to do it in a very sort of organized and structured way. I think there's a lot of people who are willing to talk about corruption, but who don't necessarily understand, how to approach it in the more sort of legal and in a governed way.
And how are we going to fill those particular gaps?
So this is, I hope, what we are going to get, or the good ideas and solutions we're going to get from CSOs and community-based organizations, like you mentioned, because we feel that the practical solutions don't necessarily come from us as UNDP, I would say, but we want to make sure that we give the space to everyone, and that's where I think the innovation comes in.
Doctor, just for clarity, when was this particular project launched, and for how long, perhaps the time frame, how long is it going to run?
So it was launched last year in 2025, and it's going to run for the next 3 years, so ending in 2027. And I think there is a strong component on building capacity of the ACC, for example. But I think the government also realized that, we have to amplify citizen engagement. And this is where I think this component can come as a strong pillar.
Yeah, just finally, perhaps just an encouragement to those, civil society, other organizations that may be hesitant to apply or unsure as to why they should be, applying for such grants.
No,
and the call there.
Yes, again, and we are very happy that we are part of this show today. I think their voice matters, that is one, and their contribution is really vital. It's very important that people don't just complain about corruption, but do something about it. I think this is very critical to understand that it's not a top-down approach. It's how do we find a way to drive this from very sort of a community-driven initiative? And I think we are hoping to get good ideas. And there will be competition, obviously.
Okay.
I think the whole idea is to look for the most practical, innovative, and we hope to attract entities that have a strong track record in terms of doing things that are a bit different. And yes, looking forward to it.
And just to follow up on a point you made, just in terms of, some people do actually report corruption, follow the right structures and so forth, yet nothing is really done about it, certain complaints that we've also read about. What do you make of that? Is it perhaps the fact that certain, frameworks perhaps are not correctly implemented? Or
yeah. Well, I hope you ask this question to maybe a government that has probably a better oversight on this. But I think essentially what we've noticed is that there's a lot of impatience on getting results and getting people to go to jail because they've reported incidents. But it's a process, and I think if you follow due process, obviously, it usually takes time, and we have to understand that some of these investigations, from what we understand, are very complex, and it requires a lot of coordination. If you report a certain case, even anonymously, I think it's important to understand that not everything will be taken on board and to say, I'm going to put Selma in jail because I think she stole a pen. Or I think it's very complex. I think some of the cases actually take a lot of time. But again, we all have the same aim, the EU and ourselves, is how do we push the governance agenda at national level?
Absolutely.